Hello, my name is Louis Almeida. I'm a student and teacher regarding the ideas of Spinoza and Gurdjieff. I'm going to talk about the work that I do and how it's changed my life. I cannot believe the man I am today from where I was many years ago. I started this work at the age of 30, and now I'm 83 years old. I'm looking forward to be 113. That may sound crazy, but I love this work so much that I must share it with you and others. Over the years, I've had many students, and I published a book called The Way of Spinoza and Gurdjieff, and this is a book of case studies of former students that learned to apply Spinoza and Gurdjieff to their lives. And so you might learn something. Well, you might learn something. You might like what you hear. You might want to purchase a book, and you might want to want to have more interest about Gurdjieff and Spinoza and how they can change your life. What do I mean, change your life? Well, what's interesting is that there was a book called In Search of the Miraculous, written by one of his students. The book is called In Search of the Miraculous. And in this book, I don't recommend all of it. I mean, what I mean is there's a lot of material here that I don't follow, that don't pertain to the work that I do. What I focus on is about human nature and how we can improve ourselves and help others improve. And what do I mean by improving? Well, as you know, and you may have heard of this, that we are all conditioned as children to follow the rules. We have to survive. An infant has to learn how to talk, walk, eat certain foods, to communicate, to be educated, and to follow certain religious beliefs and attitudes. Basically, we become a carbon copy of our parents. And you might say, well, I'm not like my parent. Well, you'll be amazed. See, one of the problems we all have is that we cannot really see ourselves. And we think we know ourselves, but in reality, a lot of our habits are duplications of our parents. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But you can get stuck there. And the idea of improving, and this is what Gurdjieff talks about in this book called In Search of the Miraculous. There are certain parts of this book that I love, and it's profound, some of these ideas about human nature, and that's what I focus on. And the book was written by Ouspensky, and this is the only book I use regarding Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff was a 20th century mystic, and his teachings are really, really interesting, and I think you'll enjoy this book. But again, if you're interested, you can email me, and I can give you a reading list, what pages to focus on, because there's a lot of material that I don't think that really relate to real growth. This is one of the books, but again, another book that I recommend, and this one I published several years ago, about case studies of Gurdjieff and Spinoza's work, how students applied their ideas into their lives, and the idea is to improve one's understanding. What do I mean by that? Well, human nature is comprised of a mind and a body. Our mind can be passive or active. And if it's active, where you're really thinking with reason and intuition. The passive mind basically relies on memory, and that is where the ego and personality, live from. So when you work on a problem, today we're confronted with a lot of difficult problems. And you're going to be challenged with your job, relationships, food, shelter. There are going to be a lot of problems coming about, and you're going to be able to face these problems, and that is the key. If you face your problems with your old memory and your ego personality, you're going to go into a lot of emotions. But that's okay. We all are there. We all are going to be caught up in the troubles of life, the difficulties that we're going to be involved in. But the key is, can we take those problems and learn how to handle them, work with them, and understand them, where they're no longer a problem? What do I mean by a problem? Say, for instance, if you never learn how to cook, you're a man and never learn how to cook, or a woman, never learn how to cook, now that could be a problem. Because then you're going out and just buying fast food or whatever, and you don't have the money. But then you're thinking about, I want to learn how to cook. So the problem is, so people think of problems as negative. No, I look at our problems as an opportunity to increase your power to understand. Understanding, again, the word understand, to understand the laws of nature, to understand reality. Now, I might be going too fast. That could be a problem. But what you could do is listen to this recording over again, several times, because I'll give you a lot of information. Now, I didn't these weren't my ideas. I learned these ideas. But I understand these ideas, and that's the difference. You want to understand these ideas because then your life will be different. You won't live from the past. You'll learn how to live in the current reality. And working on problems will help you get there. So again, one of my books I wrote and published, Case Studies, The Way of Spinoza and Gurdjieff. And I have another book. It was written by my teacher many, many years ago, during the 70s. And I met my teacher at the age of 30. I'm now 83, so do the math. I'm an old guy. Anyway, I published his book several years ago. The book is called How to Solve Life's Problems, and using the ideas of Gurdjieff and Spinoza. And case study, these are, I'll give you an example. Chapter 16. Chapter 26. The inner delight in solving problems. He says this: to gain truer fulfillment, we must exercise our mind, our intelligence. The disappointments, the problems, and challenges of life are the exercise equipment that offer us the opportunity to deepen our thinking. So the idea is that we do have an intelligence, but we don't access this intelligence. And that's why I've learned how to understand and communicate Spinoza's ideas and Gurdjieff's ideas, where you can learn to assimilate and digest these ideas and make them yours. You want to access intelligence because it's different from the ego intellect. The ego intellect is a passive thing. We need the ego to survive, though. You know, you might become a doctor. You might be a doctor. You might be an attorney. You might be a bricklayer, a mechanic, a hairstylist. I was a hairstylist. And then I got into real estate. But the real issue is, how can you access this intelligence that's different from the ego state? And the ego state relies on memory and doesn't like problems. It is always in reactions. It is in the state of hate, anger, pain, and misery. Not all the time. Of course, you have your pleasures and your food and your sex and all that. That is nice. But you're not getting true happiness, and true happiness is really available. And this is where Spinoza comes in. See, I'm reaching over for Spinoza. It's called Spinoza's Ethics. This book was written during the 17th century. Spinoza, he was kicked out of the Jewish community because his ideas were different. He could not live with the old Jewish thinking, the belief in the old God. Spinoza's God is different. But you don't have to know Spinoza's God. The idea is to know yourself and to awaken this intelligence. That's the idea. So I hope to hear from you. Thank you for listening.